The kid is back. That's right, we took a week off, but we're coming back harder than ever with this League of Trees recap. It was a wild one, man. A bunch of close matchups that went down to the wire on Monday Night Football. So let's get right into this and not waste any more time. Going with the usual rundown, we'll have the player of the week, followed by the game of the week, run through all the matchups, hit you with the power rankings, and then we're on to the next week's news and notes. The player of the week. Let's talk about him. From the Chupacabra Hunters, Michael Pittman Jr. Yes, this might have been the breakout week for Michael Pittman Jr. where Carson Wentz realizes he's the only one that he should be throwing the ball to on the Colts. 10 receptions, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 30-point fantasy performance. This propelled the Chupacabra Hunters to being the top scoring team on the week. Like I said, this might be his coming out party for his sophomore campaign. Michael Pittman might never look back. Here we go, the game of the week. This wasn't the highest scoring matchup on the week, but did it go down to the wire? And was it one of the more important battles of the season? Sicko Mode is trying to hang in there. They're down in 8th place at 4-4 after this one. And the MetLife Sackle All-Stars dropped to 5-3. It was a low scoring week, like I said, 99-93. Sicko Mode takes home the victory. Sicko Mode was carried by the one and only Bobby Trees, who scored another touchdown in this one and had a rushing touchdown in this one. Only 3 catches for 22 yards, but he's finding the end zone. That led to 20.7 points. James Conner really stepped up big. The only time he scores fantasy points is when he scores touchdowns. And on Thursday night for the Arizona Cardinals, he carried in 2 touchdowns on 5 carries. The touchdown percentage to touch percentage is unreal for him. And as long as they keep using him in those short yardage goal line situations, he's going to keep having these games where he sneaks into a top 20 performance. On to the MetLife Sackle All-Stars. Well, they were let down by Kyler Murray. Only 9 points over 274 yards. He didn't throw for a touchdown, only rushed for 21, and he threw 2 picks. This was easily Kyler's worst showing of the season. The real big bright spot here is Deebo Samuel, who continues to roll. 6 receptions for 171 yards. He broke 23 points without scoring a touchdown. An unreal game for the Niners receiver. The middle of the standings are getting real tight. Like I said, Sicko Mode is 4-4, and I believe a 3-way tie. And the MetLife Sackle All-Stars are in 4th at 5-3. For some reason, I have a feeling this is all going to come down to points for. We'll see if Sicko Mode can get something going in the second half of the season, and if MetLife Sackle can bounce back from a disappointing 93-point week. We're going to roll right into the next matchup. This one was home to the highest scorer. The Chupacabra Hunters put up 179.96 points. That's 180 points on the Ass Stuffers. Now, the Ass Stuffers didn't have a bad week. They still put up 128, which will help them get into the playoffs, as it's real tight, like I said, in the middle of the standings. The Chupacabra Hunters look like they're pulling away as one of the top 3 teams. There were big performances once again from Joe Mixon, Darrell Henderson, DK Metcalf with Geno Smith at quarterback at 22. Keenan Allen had 19. TJ Hawkinson had 19. Deontay Johnson with 15. And, of course, the player of the week, Michael Pittman with 30 points. You need those big bombs if you're going to drop 180, and Dan got one with Michael Pittman Jr. And we'll see if he can stay hot going on to the rest of the season. On the losing side of the ball, we have the ass stuff. We saw Jalen Hurts play a real football game at quarterback. And like we always say, we hate Jalen Hurts because he looks like he stinks when he's out there, but he puts up numbers. Well, he looked pretty good in this Detroit matchup. And you think he put up a lot of fantasy points. But he only put up 11, while he was projected 23. Najee Harris continued to do his thing with a 21-point performance and carrying the Pittsburgh Steelers to a win in Cleveland. CeeDee Lamb is in stride, doesn't matter who's playing quarterback, with 17 points. And Cooper Kupp with 24. This is going to go down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, wide receiver performance on the season. Because there is no slowdown in sight with Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. I really wonder who asked who to have breakfast, because I'm sure that person is ecstatic that they asked, whether it was Stafford or if Kupp initiated it. And if Kupp initiated, not only is he a insane fantasy player, but boy, is he one of the smartest people. Who knew? All it took was a cup of coffee to become Stafford's favorite in Los Angeles. Usually when you get 22 points from the defense, you don't lose. The Eagles were a great spot start by Vince. Unfortunately, that 22-point performance went to waste. Now, both of these teams are strong, so I'm sure they will bounce back and then will Now the ass stuffers are strong, so I'm sure they'll bounce back. And we'll see if the Chupacabra Hunters can keep it rolling here. He's only a game out of first place, and with a ton of points for, he's 1 week away from taking over the top spot. Now this next matchup between Brandon and Kenny, Team Q and Ocho Mush My Season, was a tight battle. But boy was it boring. Kenny wins 83-81, bringing him to 2-6 on the year. Now he still sits in 12th because he doesn't have any points for, as Brandon sits in 10th with an abundance. Now, for Brandon, a bunch of guys bombed. You'd think Kenneth Gainwell would step in and have some production, but only 3 points. DeAndre Swift had a low week with 8. The standout here was 44-year-old Tom Brady, who seems to just keep on rolling. We'll see if Team Q can bounce back next week after making some additions. Now, Kenny's team snuck by, man. 83-point win. Better to be lucky than good. And winning by 2 points, you know, you're going to have something go wrong, especially when you only score 83. Khalif Raymond, 0. What? The Detroit Lions wide receivers, when they're on the waiver wire, they like to be, you know, startable. You put them in your lineup, and they goose you. It happened to me. It happened to you. You just got to stay away from it. It'll be interesting to see what Kenny does going forward, as the only stability he seems to have on his roster is Alvin Kamara and Stephon Diggs. But he should get Clyde Edwards-Helaire back going into the end of the season. The only thing that Chris Carson hits harder than a linebacker in the B gap is a fantasy team's momentum when he gets hurt. And it happens often. That's what happened to Let's Make a Deal. Got off to this red hot start. Carson goes down. They lose a running back. And now they're struggling to put up the same amount of points. So they fall to 4-4 in a loss to the first place Fox Like Sox, 106-104. Chris is always in these heartbreakers, and it usually comes down to a Monday night performance. And that measly performance was from Travis Kelce. 4.7 points to clinch a victory for Fox Like Sox. Jonathan Taylor continued to roll with 21 fantasy points. And as you know, if Kupp scores 24 plus points a week, 25 plus points a week, Stafford is going to put up numbers, as he had 24. A.J. Brown was the big game, 31-point performance for Fox Like Sox, which really put him over the 100-point mark. No one else had a huge game. Mike Williams got shut down, Christian Kirk was a non-factor against Green Bay, and Emmanuel Sanders blanked for the first time this season. Now, Chris almost pulled this off and caught Fox Like Sox off guard, which probably would have knocked them to the 2 spot. Aaron Jones gave it his all, 24 points. Brandon Cooks with a 20-point. Devonta Smith had 13. Terry McLaurin with 15. Adam Thielen with 15. A lot of good weeks going around, but leaving Jamal Williams in his lineup as he was inactive because he had to do chores really cost him a victory here. If he had plugged in anyone else on his roster, I'm pretty sure he takes this with Brandon Bolden, 2.6 points. You know, that would have got him over the top. It's really unfortunate, but these things happen as we get older and life becomes a bigger factor. That was real deep. I'll leave you with this one. If Fox Like Sox wins again this weekend against Free Lunch, he'll move on to 8-1. An incredible record. And if some other teams lose, he'll take a 2-game lead potentially going in to week 10 of the fantasy football season. I think this is the first time Fox has ever been in this position. It's quite impressive. He changed up his draft strategy and it seems to have paid off. We'll see if he can carry that momentum. We'll see if he can carry this winning momentum going forward. Or if his team drops back down to earth and he becomes a 100-point scorer. For Let's Make a DL 10, he's always a candidate for a bounce-back week. He's still in this thing as the 6th seed at 4-4. Oh, man, this one was a nail-biter. This was almost Game of the Week. It really was almost Game of the Week. It came down to Monday Night Football. And, Sean, I hate to break it to you. That lunch, man, it ain't free. It's going to cost you about $3.50. Got nan like this monster told me. You're going to need about $3.50. I'm going to need about $3.50 for that lunch you got served last week, homie. 137-130. Free Lunch takes the victory, moves on to 4-4, and knocks Ip Man Wing Chun to 2-6. What a big performance from the Stallion, Josh Allen. He's tall, he's got a rocket arm, and he looks damn good in football uniform. That's right, 30 bomb for the kid from Buffalo. Elijah Mitchell, that week 1 waiver wire is finally paying off. A 20-point performance. He's on a roll over 100 back-to-back weeks. Jameson Crowder stepped up big with a 16-point performance thanks to Mike fucking White. Tyler Lockett and Geno Smith finally got on the same page. We stopped pretending that he wasn't a thing, that he wasn't a dynamic part of the Seattle Seahawks offense. We gave him the ball and they put up 31. Look at that. 26 points for Tyler Lockett. What a bounce back. And the MVP. That's right, the MVP of the week, Evan Ingram. Okay, Evan Ingram with some late game heroics. 10.5 points, clinched the victory in the fourth quarter with a 5-yard touchdown reception. That was his first reception, by the way. Woo! Doesn't it feel good to win those close ones? Yes, it does. I can't sit here and say that I killed Sean and I put him out of his misery. He's still got a chance at 2-6, especially when you get performances like Amari Cooper's 26 and Godwin's 28. And let's not forget Cordarrelle Patterson, the waiver wire pickup of the year, who just consistently puts up 15 plus. He had 18. So Sean's definitely still got a shot to make a run. Unfortunately, he had to pay a toll along the way. The number 2 seed, Tua Infinity and Beyond, just keeps on rolling. 121-93, they defeat Golden T. Higgy, knocking Golden T. Higgy down to 2-6, really making those playoff chances slim. As Tua Infinity moved on to 6-2 and took the 2nd seed with their points for. Spot star Ryan Tannehill at quarterback, 21 points. Tyreek Hill, 27. Quietly, because Mahomes is having a bad year, I'm going to say this is quietly, Tyreek Hill is putting up numbers. And he looks unstoppable. We'll see if Mahomes bounces back in the second half. If I was a betting man, I'd bet on the fact that he bounces back a little bit. I don't know if he's going to get to, where he has been in previous seasons, maybe not MVP form, because he looks a little lost right now. But I do think he has a stronger second half than the first, which will only lead to bigger games from Tyreek Hill. And let's not forget about Austin Eckler, just a straight workhorse out in LA. 24 points, a fantasy machine. Golden T. Higgy, this is going to be a rough one for you. I really don't know what you're going to do when you lose the NFL's leading rusher, who's on a historic pace. And maybe his historic pace for carries is why Derrick Henry suffered a broken bone in his foot. But that broken bone needs to be surgically repaired, and Henry is out for the season. In a already struggling fantasy roster, that does not help at all. It really doesn't. Neves, you also lost Calvin Ridley this week, who needs to step away from football. I'll sit here and I'll play the world's smallest violin for you. It's just your year to be bad. However, you got some wide receiver that apparently people want. T. Higgins, 13 points. And Cole Beasley, the unvaccinated man, 21-point performance. And Devontae Parker, could he become a factor in this Dolphins offense? He had 16 points. And we can't forget to highlight Swag New down in Jacksonville. Somehow going from a defensive player to becoming Jacksonville's favorite gadget option in their offense. He had 16. So there were some bright spots this week, but the dark spots really shine so dark and dim the mood for Golden T. Higgy's fantasies. All right, in week 8, we got busy. It's a hot stove. 2 big transactions on Thursday. Brandon traded Darren Waller and Tim Patrick to Sean's team for Kyle Pitts and Chase Claypool. Then Brandon made another move as he traded Cortland Sutton to my team for Elijah Mitchell. We'll see how these work out in week 9 and forward for the teams that are getting busy on the block. And now, here is your week 9 power rank. And number 1, Fox Like Socks. Number 2, the Chupacabra Hunters. Number 3, Tua Infinity and Beyond. And number 4, the Ass Stuffers. And number 5, MetLife Sackle All-Stars. And number 6, Free Lunch. And number 7, Let's Make a DL 10. And number 8, Sicko Mode. At number 9, Ip Man Wing Chun Academy. At number 10, Baba Yaga. And to round out the bottom two, we had the mainstays, Golden T. Higgy, and Ocho's Oddly Symmetric Dick, or Ocho's Mush My Season. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. As always, week in, week out, you guys are always there throwing views on the channel. If you like the video, hit it down below. Hit that thumbs up. Let me know so I know if you like the video. Any disagreements, let me know in the comments for the power rankings. Who did I rank too high? Who is too low? And as always, man, thank you again for tuning in and week out. This is so much fun to make this video. And I hope that I see you all again next week. Until that, man, peace out. And thanks for watching.